and based on your HCAP scores, they decide how much of that to give you back. So if you're above the national average, you will get about all of your money back. If you're below national average, you will be penalized, and you will get all of your money back. If you're above the national average, you will get your money back and a bonus. Since you're not affected by reimbursement today, this is the time that you really need to work on this stuff because it hasn't impacted you. And eventually when it does impact you, you'll have to worry about where to spend the bonus, not where to find the money. It was interesting when I chatted with your providers. There is a physician survey that's in testing phases now that I hear rumors is going to be instituted sometime next year. And they're going to be subject to the same kind of things I imagine as we are, which is a really good way of hooking them and getting them engaged in service excellence.
Is this a comparison against every hospital or other critical access hospitals?
When you go into the CMS database, so in other words, when you go to that website, when you see national average, it's everybody. When you see state average, it's everybody. Okay? Sometimes when you go into your program, now you have a service provider who does the surveying for you, right? So then they will provide it then, so their comparisons, they'll compare to national databases, they will compare to state basis as well. Sometimes they do an internal comparison, but that's basically to their customer grouping. In the old days of patient satisfaction. So I think HealthStream's your provider, right? Yeah, so what would happen in the old days of patient satisfaction, HealthStream would produce a report and it would rank you against HealthStream customers. Because that's the only data they had available. CMS, it's everybody. And I remember finding one day going in, I had one client who was coming in, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I was having really problems engaging leadership. It was just a struggle. And I went in and I found the database that I downloaded because it was there for download. To download, click here. So I download this Excel spreadsheet with every hospital in the United States on it. And what it was the net on their reimbursement. So you're, so these guys were minus 49. So 49% of their holdback they didn't get back because of lousy scores. So, I was in a thing and we were talking and we had all the managers in the room, we were doing a workshop and we were arguing about this stuff. And so I said to him, well, I said, according to the latest data that I saw, I said, you've lost 49% of your holdback. So how are you guys feeling about that? I said, if you want to continue bleeding red ink, I guess it's okay with me. And the CEO was just livid. The CFO almost had a heart attack sitting there. Where did you get this data? That's confidential. And I said, well, I found it on this thing called the internet. I said, would you like me to forward you the file? I said, because I just don't have yours. I got everybody in the United States. I said, download the file. I said, I'll send you the address. That was a spur for them to say, we got to do something here. This thing.
I could be wrong, but I think Kathy can do like peer-to-peer hospitals. So we can select
Yeah.
a few around us that rank us with Imperial and Grant and Cambridge and
Yeah, when you go to the CMS database, you can put in 3 hospitals. So you can put in, yours, and then your 2 closest competitors or whoever else, and then they'll actually show you the 3 comparison graphs, so you know exactly where they sit. I think it was St. Catherine Hospital in Garden City, Kansas. I was there for a couple of years doing this work in kind of a different form. St. Catherine was a little different. Are you familiar with St. Catherine's?
I did my radiology clinicals there.
Okay, yeah. Great place, loved it, but they did a full board service excellence sort of first year, and then we did an ER project for 9 months where we just did ER, and then we just did this part of the process. But they really evolved the service excellence culture and stuff, so we were just supplementing them. But what they did, remember how you went down into the cafeteria to walk down the stairs and you make a 180 to walk down, right? As you walk down that first flight of stairs, they had this whiteboard that was literally almost that big. And they had their hospital scores with comparisons with their 2 closest competitors. Like they hung it out there. Pretty gutsy move. I had one hospital also did really, really, really well. When you walked into the hospital, there was this big display case on the boards and all kinds of stuff, you know, that you find in display cases. They stripped all that stuff out and put it all in other places. And when you walked in there, it was all of your HCAPs working the quality scores. We're right there. Hanging it out. Because if you don't tell them, they just go to www. Whatever the heck the thing is. Anyway, I'm getting a little off topic. But reimbursement is going to hit you sooner than later. And the idea here is let's get ahead of the game so that when it hits us, it's going to impact us on a positive way. So, in HCAPS, we're aiming for always because always is the top box score. It goes from seldom to always in the ratings, so we're always going for always. So, how many different ways can you say always? Why are you chuckling?
You can say it the way you're saying it, and you can say it the way that we
It's all ways.
Oh, you're talking about the way I talk? You'll talk like me in 3 years. Don't worry about it. You'll always say process.
It's like, bro.
You're talking like me. You notice I haven't said that? You know, yeah. I talk more like a half North Dakotan and half Canadian because my wife loves shopping in North Dakota.
You guys are soda. You want soda?
We don't have sodas, we have soft drinks. We don't have trash, we have garbage. I go home, who's going to take out the trash? He's not like an American. That's what my kids tell me. And then you laugh at me because I talk like a Canadian. I don't know what I am anymore. This is depressing. When we talk about how many different ways can you say always, we're saying, you know, it's not, we always knock on the door before we come in. We always do this. So in scripting, and a CEO once explained this to me, and I told him, I said, we need to write a book about this. He said, you have to script your success. And when you think about it, we're constantly scripting. You know, when we're doing our job, right? Because you've got things that you have to do. There's steps that you have to take. Things that we have to say. Questions that we have to ask patients when we're dealing with them, right? We're constantly scripting. So when we talk about this, is how many different ways can we say all of this? You know, when we're dealing, we always do this, we always do this. You know, when you're responding to a call, we always try to get here as fast as we can. So we always imprint the word in their brain, so when they get the survey or when HealthStream calls them, it says, so how do you rate them from seldom to whatever, to always, that they always say always. All right. So how many of you are familiar with HCAPS, with the domains, etc.? Okay, well, let's give you the Reader's Digest version. On page 11, we've got the domains in question. So there are about 23, 26 questions, something like that in HCAPS. There's some demographic type questions, but this is sort of the guts and the glory. And what they've done is they've combined the questions in aggregations into these things called domains. So on page 11, we've got the domains. So communication with nurses. The questions are actually, how often did the nurses treat you with courtesy and respect? How often did the nurses listen carefully to you? How often did the nurses explain things understandably? So 3 questions. And when you see when you go on the website, it's communication with nurses. They combine those 3 answers into one. The doc's questions are the same as the nurses' questions. Responsiveness of staff. After you press the call light, how often did you get help as soon as you wanted? How often did you get help going to the bathroom or using a bedpan? So they put those 2 questions together. Physical environment. How often was your room and bathroom kept clean? How often was the area quiet at night? How often was your pain control? How often did they do everything to help you? About communication about meds. Before giving you any new medicine, how often did the hospital staff tell you what the medicine was for? How often did they describe the side effects, discharge? Did the doctors and nurses talk with you whether you would have help you needed when you left the hospital? Did you get information about the symptoms or health problems to look out for? Transition, the hospital staff took care of my preferences. When I left the hospital, I had a good understanding of the things I was responsible for. When I left the hospital, I clearly understood the purpose of taking each medication. So those are all aggregate questions. Now, the last 2 questions are a little bit different than the first bunch. The last two questions are actually sort of pure patient satisfaction type questions, where they ask you from a number from 1 to 10, how would you rate this hospital? So in other words, how satisfied were you? And again, on a scale of 1 to 10, or 0 to 10, where 0 is the worst and 10 is the best, would you recommend this hospital to family and friends? And again, they report the global on the website. Your survey vendor will actually break it down to individual questions, but on the website. Now, interestingly, on global rating, you will find the one thing that frustrates me to no end doing what I do for a living. When you do evaluation forms, right? It's a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate me, blah, blah, blah. So you get people that'll circle a 4 and say nobody's perfect. Well, I don't know nobody's perfect. I didn't ask if I was perfect. I asked if it was excellent, and there's a difference. What kills me is managers, and I mean, I read all my evaluations, who consistently give you a 4 and then just cry the blues and things like this because they can't get on all of us. They can never get top box. If you can't get it, you don't give it, think about this. Right? But what they've done, CMS recognized this sort of thing that some people have. You know, they don't want to rate you a 10. You know, you're not perfect, so I'm going to rate you a 9. When they report top box, they combine the 9s and 10s. So they take that into account a little bit. But I think that's pretty good. I think that's fair. So I just wanted to point that out. So it's not the 10s, it's the 9s and 10s. I don't know if the public knows that, and I don't know if it would matter, but it's good for us to know. So, we could talk a million years about HCAHPS, and this used to be, quite frankly, from your perspective, this was an agonizingly long thing, 10 pages to co-facilitate each one of these domains. My God, it was just horrible. So we figured there's got to be a better way to do it again, because a lot of this stuff just is logical. It's just the stuff we're supposed to do. So we invented the test to test you on whether you know what to do on how to really succeed in these various domains. So let's just walk through this test together. So true or false? Involving patients in decisions regarding their treatment shows courtesy and respect. It's also good medicine. True, absolutely. People feel listened to when you express empathy for their concerns. True. Since we're all basically alike, there's no need to pay any attention to the patient's personal preference. False. Communication with the docs. Sitting at bedside rather than standing demonstrates you're prepared to listen to the patient's story. True. Believe it or not, it takes like 8 seconds longer in studies. It's just minuscule difference. Offering treatment options and allowing the patient to participate in treatment decisions shows courtesy and respect. True. Using complicated medical terms reassures the patients that you're up to date on the latest procedures. False. Responsiveness of hospital staff. It's a wise policy to test for patient familiarity with the call light and the intercom function. True, okay. If we don't respond quickly to the grumpy patients, they'll get the message and shape up. When a hospital-wide standards for response to call lights are set and adhered to, patients feel a greater degree of comfort and security. True. Physical environment. If we're short-staffed on a weekend, it's okay. The bathrooms aren't cleaned. So, reducing the noise level of the nursing floor is everybody's responsibility. True. A housekeeping staff member that asks a patient what else they'd like tidied up sends a message of care and concern. Absolutely. Pain control. Nurses should be able to educate patients about the difference between total absence of pain and pain management. True. Because of the level of pain changes, we need to constantly check the patient's level of discomfort and monitor whether pain meds are indeed working. True. Nurse staff should be prepared for pain management in children. True. Or men, because there could be worse than children in terms of tolerating pain, and I speak as a Bayer. I got a double strike against me. Medication about medicine. It's wise to regularly ask patients if they have any questions about medication they're taking. True. Asking patients to describe in their own words what each medication is for is an excellent way to make sure they know. True. I remember my mother and my mother-in-law. What are your drugs? Here, why are you taking them? I don't know. The doctor told me to. If a new medication is prescribed, there's no reason to worry the patient with information about any possible adverse side effects. False. I sort of improv on that, but what the heck. Discharge info. Before discharge, staff needs to prepare patients to care for themselves physically and emotionally. True. It's not important to involve the family or support services in discharge planning. Open-ended questions that start with how and what are a good way of uncovering any lingering concerns and anxieties a patient may have about going home. True. And finally, the global rating. The last two questions of the survey are not reported because they're on a 10-point scale. False. Each employee directly or indirectly contributes to the patient's rating and likeliness to recommend. Absolutely true. It doesn't matter where you work in the hospital. Every single one of us has an important job to do, and every single one of us impacts patient satisfaction. So, HCAPS ain't rocket science. It's doing what you need to do. That's rocket science. It's getting people to get this stuff done. All right. Whereas I tend to do, but I tend to get ahead of my slides. Anyway, so where are you? So on page 13, we've got a very simplified chart of the HCAP scores. So communication with nurses, you are scoring 88, and quite coincidentally, you are in the 88th percentile, so that's pretty good. Communication with docs, 86, percentile ranking was 71. This was the 2015 results. Responsiveness of hospital staff, 72, so you're at the 16th percentile. Cleanliness, 92 score, you're 99th percentile. There is no 100th percentile. So if you're 99th percentile, you're the top dog, or one of the top dogs. Pain control, 90%, 99th percentile. That is a phenomenal score. I've got to tell you, that is a phenomenal score. Communication about medicines, 86, the score was 86, 99th percentile. Again, a phenomenal, phenomenal score. Discharge info, 92 gets you the 85th percentile. Transition of care, 70% gives you the 98th percentile. And you know, you look at that score, 70% gets you 98th percentile, which probably means that everybody has to sharpen their pencil to bring the score up. And that's one score that I think if you're not careful, and again, it's just because it's such a low raw score that that could change dramatically. Anyway, global rating, 92 overall. 92 gets you a 98th percentile. Again, you know, pretty much top dogs. So those are some excellent scores, and some that need work.
What is this based off though? Because we weren't even using these last year, were we? Is this us?
Yeah, this is you. These are your scores.
We've had health streams for,
Oh, this is the health stream.
This is HealthStream.
the health streams call
Okay.
patients and then.
Okay, that one. Okay, I was
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the HCAP.
Of course.
I've got one question.
Sure.
Is this on an inpatient status only, or is it all of our patients?
Inpatients only. But it's changing because they're starting one for ER. I don't know if you're familiar with our app. Everyone's a caregiver app. But I'm writing the app for ER.
Are surgical patients account into this? They're
Because they're outpatients.
These are outpatients.
They're outpatients.
And then there's certain criteria you can't, now Kathy's the expert, so don't quote me on this, but you can't call patients under 19, I think.
Right.
So you can't call anybody that, a younger person. What, can you remember what all the, there's certain criteria that you can't call them. And so then HealthStreams has, they take up to 6 weeks, and I believe they try 3 times to get a hold of that person, and then they don't. So I know like our numbers last quarter were like one person.
Yeah, very low response rate last time, as I saw your numbers. So, and the criteria that HealthStream uses is not HealthStream's criteria, it's CMS's criteria. And it include contact, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, those. And when the vendors, when they started to set this up, the vendors had to vet that they were meeting all the standards, and it was all the statistical stuff, and it was quite a process for them to be able to do the surveys to make sure, because they wanted to be really, really careful. Everybody had to be doing it exactly the same way to make an apples-to-apples comparison. So the rules are pretty stringent on what they can and can't do.
One of the things that they have talked about, though, it's all phone calls, and there's so many people that see an 800 number on their phone and they won't pick up the phone. So there's some other ways that can be targeted, correct? that we kind of tossed around, so that might be something.
I-
I'll tell you why I'm laughing.
The
I'll tell you why, because